This is my 1968 Fender Super Reverb. It's a drip edge, it's a black line, and it's the best amp you can buy today. I'm just going to say that. I think it's I don't think you can even deny it. What a vintage Super Reverb goes for, no amp touches that. Vintage or modern for the same price, it's not even close. It's honestly, it blows my mind how affordable these are. I've been wanting a Super Reverb for a while because frankly, they're maybe the best amp Fender ever made, but they're just so available and so cheap. I was in no rush because I was going after more rare and harder to get and find items. But this popped up and I went, okay, this checks the boxes for me. Let's go for it. I paid very little for this and I'm really excited. Now, I've played it a little bit and I can already tell you it's not healthy. And I've never seen the inside. There's no gut shots. When I bought it, I just kind of went with it. So that's going to be part of the excitement of this video, is opening it up for the first time and seeing what's in there. Fingers crossed it's not completely gutted. But yeah, I just want to say that this is the best buy you can do today. Nothing touches it, and I'm really excited. Is it big? Yes, look at it. Is it heavy? You betcha. Is it loud? You're damn right it's loud, but it sounds incredible. And at any volume too, I just think a Super Reverb really can't be touched for 90% of things. So anyways, before I ramble on too much, let's get into it. Let's put on the workbench and see what we're working with. So before I go ahead and take the chassis out, let's just go ahead and look at the back of the amplifier, namely the speakers. These are the original. So these are the Fender Blue Label, as you can see, Alnicos. There are a few different speakers that came in Super Reverbs. There's a camp that loves all of them. And this is kind of the one I was hoping for. I wanted the Alnicos. Looking at the tube complement here. Now, this came with actually a box full of tubes, and they're a mishmash of all sorts of stuff, mostly vintage tubes, but not the original tubes. And then it looks like somebody convinced the owner to retube the entire thing. So we've got a JJ rectifier, JJ 5881s instead of 6L6s. And then in here, the owner already told me that it was all retubed, but yeah, they're all JJs. So the entire amplifier is all JJs top to bottom. And then, yeah, let's see if we can take a look here at the tube chart. AB 763, that's what you want to see in the top right there. So that tells us it is a black face amplifier on the inside, or at least based off of the chart they used there. Sometimes they reused old charts and they don't match the actual inside, but I'm fairly confident it is because it is a black line drip edge, which means on the front panel you'll see a black line, and that was on the earliest of the drip edge models, which are all, to my knowledge, black face on the inside. And then the back panel looks nice and clean. Always love to see how people mark the red on the reverb input. Yeah, everything looks really good from the back here. So I think now we can go ahead and pull the chassis out. So I'm going to go ahead, take the amplifier out of the cabinet. I'm not going to look, and I'm going to just flip it over. So we're going to look at the underside first, the side with the transformers, and then we will do the reveal of the inside together, and you'll get my actual first reaction. So let me grab it real quick and flip it over. I'm not looking. All right, flip that sucker over. Nice and heavy. Okay, let's see what we got here. Quite a large chassis, actually. And let's start with the transformers, because that is an interesting part of this amplifier's story. So let me move it down a little bit, zoom in here for you guys. And let's go ahead and see if we can read these codes. These ones do get kind of gummed up sometimes, but I can see 606812. This would be the 12th week of 1968. That's good. This one is obviously not original, and we can see it's got some kind of code on here. 125C1A is probably what the part is normally. I don't see any branding on it, but I'm sure if I look that up, it would come up. So this is a replacement. Now this here is, this would be, I believe, the choke. So this is not a big deal. A choke is not exactly like a resistor, but it's yeah, a replacement choke, as far as I'm concerned, makes no difference to the tone. So I knew about this. This output transformer, see if I can lean it over like this. Hopefully you can see that. 606727, it looks like. So that would be the 27th week of 1967. So there's a 1967 part in here and 1968 part in here, which all works together with this being a drip edge black line. And just to reiterate what that means, zoom out a little bit here. Show ya. So see these lines right here? So those are what I'm referring to when I say black line. And there's a lot of history behind that, and it's not completely settled as far as what that means or what that was from. But one of the theories that I personally like to think about is that these are part of the design, kind of the grid lines for making the design of the faceplate, and they were left on when the faceplates were first printed. And Leo being a very, now I guess it wouldn't be Leo, it'd be CBS at that time, even more so, CBS being very, very frugal, would obviously they wouldn't put those to waste. They would just go ahead and run them on amps until they ran out of those faceplates. And then after that, kind of, mid to late 68 on, they did not have the black line anymore. So that's what that is. Then moving on down here, we see this. So I knew about this transformer. The guy told me about that one. This one I did not know about. And this is also a replacement, but this is for the reverb. So this is the reverb transformer. Again, this is not going to affect the tone, so I'm not worried about this at all. I don't see any branding on it. I'm sure if I look this code up, it would tell me what it is. So we have two replaced transformers, one choke, one transformer. Neither should affect the tone whatsoever. And the ones that matter, the output transformer and the power transformer, are both original. So that's all good. Go ahead and pull off these. And I already mentioned it, but they are 100% JJs. Everything in the amplifier has been swapped with JJs. Now, I was told, so the person I bought this from was not actually well, he did play the amp, but it was actually his brother's amp. And his brother played this in a Marshall. And his brother, I believe he said, if I remember the story correctly, had it recently serviced. He actually passed away, unfortunately. And he had it serviced, and I think the shop he went to probably told him, all the tubes are bad, and so they just literally bought a JJ for every single slot, which is quite a lot of money. But anyways, that would be my guess. Now this is going to be the first hint of what is to come on the other side. Let's go ahead and take off the Doghouse cover. All right, the reveal. Has it been worked on? Well, I know it's been worked on, but has it been worked on well? Okay. Interesting. So we've got a mixture here, which is a bit odd. IC branded. So these are typically not what you want to see. And then we've got two Sprague Atoms, which are fairly expensive caps. Installs don't look horrible. In fact, they got some domes on these. They got the original resistors here, the two 20Ks, and then this would be a 1K, and this will be a 4.7K. So those are the original resistors. So we do know, like I said, that the amp was taken in to be worked on. And again, I'm guessing that that's why it was retubed completely. But yeah, okay. So based off of this work, a bit weird having the split of different parts, but the actual work itself looks okay. So I'm feeling all right so far. Definitely doesn't look hacked. All right, now's the time. Let's go ahead and flip it over. All right, let's see what we're working with. Oh, okay. 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 All right, let me position this a bit better so you guys can see the whole thing. It's a big chassis. All right. Definitely a mixed bag. First glance, definitely a mixed bag here. So we've got a couple original Blue Moldeds, from what I can tell. We got 1.047, a 0.1, and then a 0.022, it looks like. I need to look up the schematic. I don't have one in front of me, but I'll look it up in a second. We got Sprague. Nice caps replaced here. Cathode bypass caps. And then all of the other coupling caps are replaced here with big old orange drops of different brands. This is a different brand than these ones. We've got I can't tell what that is, but we've got another cap here. So unfortunately, we're missing the Blue Moldeds there. We've got the original oscillator caps here, the disc caps. We've got a couple replacement caps here. We've got silver mica. We've got one original here. It looks like the normal channel is basically preserved and the vibrato channel got kind of gutted. We got plate resistors swapped here. We've got some really shanky work here, shoddy work here. All of these resistors replaced, really shoddy work here. Now I know the shop that did this, I hear their name a lot. It's kind of probably the most popular or most used, from what I can tell, amp repair shop here in kind of San Diego area. I'm not going to say their name because I don't know exactly what they did and what they didn't do, but I do know they were the last people to work on the amp. So ultimately they're responsible for how it left the shop, whether they did all of the work or not. And I'm not very impressed with what I'm seeing. It's kind of like the other side, a mixed bag, really. Some of the stuff looks okay. Like these solder joints look really good. At least this one. I guess it looks like they didn't really disturb the solder joints. They just kind of heated them up and popped the components in there. But then the fresh solder joints don't look very good. The original Roach, it looks like. This is like, I mean, I don't know. Let's just zoom in a little bit. Let's inspect this a bit further. Why, you know, when I see wavy lines like that, just so lazy. It's not hard to, like, look at this. It's just not hard to do this properly. So that's annoying. Another replaced cap here. A couple weird hot dog looking resistors here. I don't know what those are called. More carbon comps. This all looks okay over here. More terrible solder joints here. Looks like this was just tack soldered on the side of the eyelet because they couldn't fit all the components in there. Zoom out a bit further. SM, so this has got to be replaced. All those replaced. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm kind of nitpicking a little bit here, but we're just trying to get an idea of what we got. And it's not that bad. Let's be very clear. It's not that bad, but it's not perfect. We are missing a lot of Blue Moldeds, which I am disappointed in. We're missing really kind of 4 important ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do have a couple 0.047s for my stash. I have no 0.1s, and we're going to need, I can't remember what the values are here. This might even be a replacement too, now that I'm looking at it. So we'll pull up the schematic here in a second and confirm all of this, but we will be getting Blue Moldeds to make this amp right for sure. Looking at the pots here, let's see if any of those are replaced. So the pots date between 1966 and 1967 from what I can see. What does this one say? 1967, I think is what that one says. So that all checks out. So I think we might be okay with the pots, which is good. Possible replacement on this normal volume pot because it has no markings on it. and is not the kind of nylon center one like this is here, which I feel like is more typical. Everything else looks pretty good at first glance. There's, a couple replaced resistors and whatnot here and there. We'll have to look into that. We'll see in the bias circuit, we've got a parallel resistor added in to probably the original to try and get the bias better. Terrible solder joint here. That's not the end of the world. Oof, look at this. And this, my friends, is why. Let's see if this one's bad. No, that one's okay. Okay. Let me move this chassis down. It's quite large and heavy. So this, my friends, is why we solder to the chassis. Yeah, I can just, it's completely loose. So that's not good. That can definitely give you some problems. These are the center taps too. And then we got the 3-prong added, which they just connected to the other bolt over here. So same exact problem. So we will be replacing this 3-prong. I also don't like how short it is. I always like a much longer 3-prong. And then we got this over here, which is more typical. The cap has been replaced with another sprig, but the original resistor and diode are there. Looking over here, we've got our screen resistors. These are 5-watt 1Ks. Typically, this is a 470 ohm, and these were not installed well. I mean, installing one upside down is just kind of goofy. Why would you do that? So we will be replacing both of those. Looks like the grid stop resistors are original, the 1.5Ks. All of this looks okay. Let me inspect the tube sockets a little bit further. We're going to go handheld cam to get a bit of a closer look at everything, so it's hard to do from the upper angle. Let's go ahead and look at this. The paralleled resistor, you can see how bad the solder joint is there a bit better. We can see another replaced resistor right there on the pot. You can see that last volume pot there. Doesn't have any markings on it, so it might be a replacement. Not sure. And then just kind of looking at the board itself, there's one spot I immediately noticed right here. Hopefully you can see that. I bet I can pull that wire right out of the eyelet right now if I tried. So that's not great. That looks like an original joint that's just gotten old. Looking at some of the other work done here. So not terrible. I mean, we've seen much worse on this channel. Much, much worse. But also not good. I've never seen any work done by this shop before, but I've heard their name a lot. So I was curious to see what this would look like. And again, I don't know exactly what they did, but I do know they were the last ones to work on it. You can see here, it looks like they just tacked on the lead outside the eyelet, the ground lead. It goes over there. And looking at the tube sockets here, so we've got the reverb driver transformer that was swapped. Some other stuff hanging out here. The tube sockets otherwise look pretty good. The 3-prong wiring is not to code, so that'll need to be swapped anyways. And let's see what's the connection is on this side. That doesn't look very good. And there's the other connection. That doesn't look great either. There's the orange drop. chassis stamp there points it to being in 1968. No surprises there. And yeah, overall, honestly, it's not terrible. It could have been much worse. I am sad about the Blue Moldeds being gone. I mean, there's really never a reason for these two specifically to be removed. They never leak. I've never heard of that happening before, especially in this position here. Here is a bit more understandable in the phase inverter, but here is not. So to me, that screams foul play. And but you know, here it was left all alone. So I'm not really sure. So now my job is going to be to pull out a schematic and do what I always do, which is go through the amplifier resistor by resistor, cap by cap, and mark up what I find that needs to be changed, what the values are that are out of spec, and then I'll report back to you guys once I have that. So let's go ahead and cut to the results. All right, I just got done going through the entire amplifier, and just like I always do, measured every single resistor and really confirmed all the caps and all of that to make sure they're at least the right value. And high level, the takeaway is there's a ton of potential work to be done to this amp. What I mean by that is probably 80% of the resistors measured out of tolerance, and some much more than others. Now, old me would look at that and go, okay, all of those need to be replaced. So any of these silver band resistors, those are 10% tolerance. If it's out of 10%, you're out of here. Modern Tanner that's had a little bit more experience under his belt and has done some experimenting and testing himself, which I actually did a recent video where I did just that, where I had these cathode bias resistors here for the preamp tubes, and I had one that was out of tolerance by about 20%. I had one that was in tolerance, both carbon comp, compared them side by side, and I noticed no audible difference. I did the same with a couple other types of resistors as well. So if you're curious about that, I will link that video in the description or put it up at the corner. But either way, instead, my approach going forward is more, let's see what's really completely out and in a critical area in the circuit, fix that up, and then all the other questionable ones that are out, maybe 30, 40% or something, they might still be okay. It might actually make the amp sound more unique and better. That's something that Lyle from Sonic Audio has taught me, is that can lead to having a special amp. So why would I want to potentially take that away? So yeah, my approach is going to be go through, replace the resistors that are, just shouldn't be here, like these here, and kind of get all of those right. But otherwise, kind of approach it more as we'll take it in chunks for the resistors. And then the caps, so we're missing 4 Blue Moldeds in this amplifier. I really, really want to go ahead and make this amplifier whole as far as Blue Moldeds are concerned. So I'm going to be on the lookout. Now, a call to you guys, because I know a lot of you guys that watch the channel, you might have a stash of Blue Moldeds. I know a lot of people have just collected them over the years. So I need 3.1s and 1.022 microfarad. So if anybody has any of those and they're willing to work something out with me, go ahead and hit me up on my email, yeatzeeguitar@gmail.com. Let's chat about that, because I really want to get this dialed. I have 2 Blue Moldeds, but they're unfortunately both 0.047s, which is the one value I don't need. So hoping I can find 3.1s and 1.022 to replace this one, this one, this one, and this one. So hit me up if you have a lead on any of those. And then the other caps, we're going to replace this. I hate the look of just these giant orange drops. They just look terrible, in my opinion, in a vintage Fender. That's gone. All of these caps are going to be gone and replaced with appropriate disc caps, and just kind of doing some basic work to just make it look better. Performance-wise, it's not really going to make any difference, but it's going to look a lot better when it's done. So as I always do, I kind of go through, I pull up a layout on the internet, and then I just mark it down and go through and make my notes of what needs to be changed, what looks good, etc. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through every little takeaway here, but I'll just kind of point out some things. 3-prong, for sure gone. We already talked about that. Screen resistors, these are gone and look ugly. Those will be 470 ohm like they should be. And the grid stops, they measured way out. This one in particular measured 2.8K, very common for those to be way out from heat. So that's for sure. Looking here, these two 5% 220K resistors, these are out, pretty common, but they both measured basically the same. So they're both out the same amount, which is not totally bad in my opinion. So these are supposed to be 220Ks. They're way out that from there. They're both 250Ks. but because they're closely matched, I think we can leave those in. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I think those are okay for at least right now. These are way out. This 100K measured 128K. This 82K measured 140K. So these are way, way out. So we'll be replacing both of those. Going down the line, lots of stuff. These 1 megs are gone. Let's see here. This 220K measured 250K. That may or may not go. I need to trace where that is in the circuit. This is a terrible mess. They just tack soldered in this lead. Just really poor work. It's just laziness. It's hard to fit a bunch of leads in this single eyelet here and here. And the way they did it is just super lazy. So don't love that, but I think we can salvage it. It looks like this was actually like tack soldered on the end here. It looks like they used an old one and that had a really short lead and got that in there. So just in general, lots of crap like that. This is an SM labeled silver mica, so you know that's got to go. Anyways, yeah, lots and lots of stuff to replace. And there's other added things here as well. You can see they hit a soldering iron on this wire, which is unfortunate. Thankfully, no wires showing, but just kind of shows the quality of the work that was done. In general, you know, it's not terrible. Yeah, I'm just going to say it again. It's not terrible, but it's not great work, especially in these areas. So I'm really going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, knowing that this is going to get gigged very likely. I'm really going to try and make it very sturdy. Yeah, I'm going to get straight to work. I don't have a lot of the parts on hand to fix this, but I do have some, so we can get the ball rolling. So with that, we're going to end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and stay tuned to hear how it sounds in all of its glory. Subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, see ya.